Okay. Hello, everyone. Ciao. Thank you for coming to the webinar today. Look forward to having you join us. We have an exciting program today with the president of CitiQuiet Windows and Doors. If you want to wave, Ben. Ben Friedman, there he is on spot. Laws of change. So he put this together. We've got finance and insurance information coming in about the understanding of windows and doors today. I'm Peggy West. I'm the event organizer. And I just want to cover a couple of things for housekeeping. If you have a question, put it in the Q&A box, please. Q&A only. We're recording Q&A, and those questions, if they're not answered, go to the speaker and he can maybe answer them, or maybe another sponsor might want to answer out to him. The chat box is not recorded, so you can say hello, you can send us a comment or whatever, but at the end there's going to be a survey. You can make a lot of comments, and we hope you enjoy the class today. I want to tell you that this is for the CAMS, a CEU credit for IFM, which is Insurance and Finance Management. And also, if you've got those filled, you can also get an operations or an elective credit as well. With that, I'm going to move on into introducing the sponsors for today. I'm going to start with Vinteum Software. This is my wind beneath my wings. I cannot say thank you enough. Julie is on to introduce Vinteum and why you should buy your website from Vinteum. Take it away.
Hello, Peggy. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Peggy. I'm Julia, marketing analyst here at Vinteum. Vinteum has been in the field for the past 10 years more. We are simplifying community management through our websites or app or software. This is made for board members and property managers. So no matter if you are a HOA or a condo, Vinteum is an all-in-one app and portal that will help you more to streamline operations from your finances to amend reservations and many other features. We have a multi-channel communication platform, a website that is compliant to the Florida website law. So if you feel like this is something that your community could benefit from, I will drop a link on the chat. Please schedule a free demo. This is no string attached, and see it in action. Hope we all have a great webinar today.
Thank you so much. Please thank your team. And I want to also say that they are international and very national in the United States, serving many, many associations, and they are known for building websites for condominiums at a very, very great price. So keep that in mind if you need a site. I want to move on to Ed Runke. He is the owner of Runke Consulting, general contractor, very experienced for many years. He's also today's moderator. And before we get into class, Ed, go on and do your own introduction, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Peggy. And, thank you for putting this together. I always kind of like go into a little spiel about Peggy, but, it's great that, we see so many attendees on here, and, she's built a great program to get a lot of people in a great space. You guys will be hearing from Ben today, who's just really an expert in his field and great at portraying a message to you guys that obviously a lot of you want to hear because you're all on here today. So, just appreciate you, Peggy, for putting this stuff together. And like she said, we're all available at all times, but, ask questions in the chat, leave your information. If you need our information, we'll leave it for you at the end as well. But yeah, with Runke Consulting, we do a lot of education. We do B2B as well as, CAM certification credits and different things like that. So we'll come out and do lunch and learns. Obviously, I participate with Peggy on her webinars as well. So I've probably seen a number of you guys that are on this call before. And if I haven't, I look forward to getting to meeting all of you guys. And the webinar will be great. Just to reiterate on Peggy's point too, try your best to use the Q&A best as you can for the questions and answers so that we can get those answered as quickly as we can for you guys. And if there is an overflow that we don't get to, we'll definitely make note of those. And I'm sure, Ben and his team will get those answered for you guys in a timely manner as well. So thank you guys for coming on today. And I appreciate it, Peggy. I look forward to getting started.
Okay, thanks, Ed. All right, so I also want to introduce Siobhan Gonzalez. She's with United Professional Engineering. Siobhan, tell us about yourself, what you're doing. If you haven't seen her on LinkedIn, you're going to hear it today. Go for it.
Hello, everyone. It's Winning Wednesday, and so we are so excited to be here with you all on this webinar. It's going to be a treat. As always, Peggy, thank you for doing a wonderful job facilitating this and making it happen. So I am the business developer for United Professional Engineering. We have been serving South Florida with trusted excellence for over 20 years. Structural engineering firm. So we provide all of the services that you need for inspections, phase 1, phase 2, recertification. Our firm is also equipped and we specialize in concrete restoration. So we're here to support you to be that voice of truth, that trusted resource. There are so many questions about engineering, and we value the opportunity to educate and empower you, your teams, your boards to make the best decision. Our president and owner, he is the standing president of the Florida Structural Engineers Association. He has his GC license as well, structural inspector. So we are here to provide value, answer any questions you have. Please feel free to reach out, connect with us on LinkedIn. I look forward to getting to know you. Enjoy the webinar.
Very good. Also, I just want to mention one of the things that they also do is owner representation under project management. So if you already have an engineer in place, you have a project in place, they are willing to represent the owners. So I don't know if y'all have considered that, because when you have an engineering firm representing you as an owner, they know what points and key things to look for. So just want to mention that for you, Siobhan, and please tell Carmelo thank you. Okay, next I want to introduce Dylan Pena. He's with PD Concrete. Dylan, take it away.
Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Wednesday. I'm the business developer for PD Concrete Specialists. We're proud to be in business for over 20 years. We specialize in concrete restoration, waterproofing, and post-tension cable repair. We also assist with the 40, 50, 60-year recertification process to ensure your property stays compliant and safe. One thing that sets us apart is that we do not use subcontractors. All of our employees are in-house. This is to ensure accountability and quality work for every step of the way. And we operate out of 2 offices, one in Aventura and one in West Palm Beach. So if you have any questions, I'll leave my information in the chat box below, and happy Wednesday to everyone.
Thank you so much. And please tell Daniel, your father, I said thank you as well. Next, I want to introduce very experienced, longtime industry contact and friend. She is everywhere. I don't know how she does it. And I'm going to turn this over to Diana Olert, the Senior Business Developer for Best Roofing. Diana.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction, Peggy. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. I couldn't be more proud to be part of this presentation today. Every single person here is very professional, and I will recommend them to my own clients. So I know you're in good hands. I'm the Director of Business Development at Best Roofing. We are been in business for 47 years now, and we cover South Florida. We're also right now in Jacksonville, Orlando, and Tampa. We're opening new offices there. The one in Jacksonville is open already, so we'll be more than happy to assist you in that area as well. We're offering free roof estimate, and we'll do everything that you need in your roof. We do from a residential single-family home to a commercial warehouse building, high rises, any kind of building, and it will go from a maintenance program and a little repair to the most complicated roof project. So we do have the capacity to help you. We have 400 employees at your, to help you with anything on any of the projects that you have coming up. And if you need anything, I put my information on the chat box. I will be more than happy to help you. Please contact me directly and I will set up this picture for you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Wonderful. Absolutely. So best has a reason for that word. They are the best in South Florida here. I do want to mention, since you've mentioned a couple other cities, that United Professional Engineering recently just expanded. They have a new satellite office in Fort Myers area. So Siobhan, I mentioned that for you as well. Next, I want to introduce Munyon Painting. We have a new employee from their company also, Shawnee Haas. Shawnee, tell us about yourself and the company and what you guys are doing lately.
Hi, I'm Shawnee from Munyon Painting. We have been in business since 1971, and we specialize in both exterior and interior paintings for condos, HOAs, as well as individual residential homes. I am the newest marketing manager, so it's been very lovely coming onto these webinars and meeting Peggy and everyone. And thank you for all coming today. I'm actually at a job site right now, so that's very fun. And we look forward to for you to contact us and help you out with any of your painting needs and make your community look beautiful.
Okay, I just want to say that she has a great deal of experience. Shawnee, tell us about yourself since you're new to our group here and why you're qualified to be on this webinar, because you come with a great deal of industrial experience.
Yes, so I've actually started my career as a marketer about 5 years ago, working for a startup tech company that specialized in installing home automation. And from there, I've jumped around to a bunch of different marketing positions, some with a newspaper, some for other construction industries. And so now I'm here with Munyon, and I'm working my way up to their marketing coordinator position as well. So I'm starting to take on new responsibilities for them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. All right, next I want to introduce one of the premier brokers in South Florida, Daniel Baum. He's the owner and the founder of COA Solutions. Daniel, please introduce yourself and tell us what you're doing.
Thank you, Peggy. That was a very nice intro. I appreciate that. Hi,
Welcome.
everyone. Daniel Baum, COA Solutions of Florida. I specialize in commercial property and casualty insurance for condominiums, HOAs, and multifamily property. One of my favorite subjects today we're going to be talking about, hurricane windows and doors, and how do they affect insurance. Spoiler alert, they bring down your insurance tremendously. You're going to find, and then you're going to hear today about how they can save you an enormous amount of money on your insurance. So definitely something you should be considering doing. Opening protection is the terminology we use in the insurance space. And the only bit of information I'll throw in here is making sure you have someone who documents your information properly is just as important as putting in new products. I can tell you a horror story of a client of ours who replaced all of their hurricane windows and doors and had someone come out and do wind mitigation reports and filed them incorrectly. And so the customer thought they were going to get a tremendous saving on insurance, only to find out later that they didn't and couldn't figure out why, and paid way more than they should have for several years before we figured out what the problem was. So just as important in getting these things done to improve your property is making sure the documentation of those improvements are done correctly. So definitely keep an eye out for that. If anybody is wondering, thankfully, so far we've had no hurricanes, as you are all aware. And I keep getting questions about budgets for next year. What can we expect from the insurance? You should have all seen a reduction this year on your property insurance, regardless of if you put in new windows and doors or not. If you haven't, you definitely want to be looking into that a little bit more closely. And let's just hope that we don't have any major catastrophes this year that cause any significant damage or, God forbid, loss of life, and that you have the windows and doors to protect you. If you have any questions or concerns, I tell people all the time, I don't have to be your insurance agent to answer questions. Please feel free to reach out to me. I do a free policy review if that's something you're interested in. And I look forward to being here for any questions you might have during our webinar. We've got two great presenters today. I hope you all enjoy it, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. Excellent advice. Excellent advice. And that's why I always say I have the best professionals, and I'm so grateful. The next few sponsors, I'm just going to mention a little short amount about them. They're not able to attend today. There is a conflicting meeting going on in South Florida, so I'll just run through it real quick, starting with Clarkson and Varick. They're elevator consultants, very proficient in what they do. And we have a local representative, Damaris Cabrera, who is also very experienced in elevators. So if you need some evaluations and things like that, consulting, please give her a call. The next one I want to introduce is Alanek Railings. They are manufacturers and they also do full installations with their own people. They're based out of Lantana, Florida, but they are very experienced for many years in railing manufacturing installations for condominiums. The other Next one I want to introduce is First Citizens Bank, Jamie Gelfand. She is a senior officer with the company. And right now, if you need anything to do with banking, you need a loan. She recently mentioned she had a $22 million loan that they approved and financed. So they are very active and open to ideas and things that you need, especially with hurricane season coming. So Jamie Gelfand is the contact. Next, I want to mention Bob Aleka. He is the Vice President for Community Relations at Faster.io. Faster.io is a streaming service. It's one you can take anywhere. If you go to your home in Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, wherever you go on vacation, California, you can take your streaming service with you. So Bob is the one to contact about that, especially if you're within 2 years of renewing your service, cable or streaming at your property. Very competitive also. Next, I want to mention Nicole Johnson Pendergraph. She is with Hafer Company. It's a full service CPA service. They do not do general bookkeeping. They're a CPA firm, auditing, and so on. So if you want to stay compliant or you're not sure, or if you want to check and see if they have some good services for you, there's 4 cities around the state of Florida available to you. And I will have her contact information on the sponsor sheet as well. Lastly, but not least, I want to introduce Dawn Miller. She's a director of business developer for the Paving Lady. Paving Lady has been around for many years. The new owner took over about 5 years ago, and they are very well known for doing outstanding work. In fact, they should change their name to the Best Paving Lady, I think. But anyway, lastly, I do want to mention I'm very excited about a new venture I just introduced yesterday on LinkedIn. I actually fired it up last Friday, called the website Florida Condo Vendors for You. It's something I created. I'm hoping to get many vendors on there as resources, especially during this budget season, connecting, board members, property managers, and vendors together, as well as management companies. I'm looking to have any of you property managers who are searching around for positions. I'm hoping to get management companies on there that you can go to. You open up the management company site and it'll have their HR director. So let's get started. I want to say thank you. I'll have everybody's contact information on sponsors. I want to say thank you for everybody attending. You don't need to put your CAM numbers in the chat box or the Q&A CAMs. We do have that when you registered. I want to turn this over to Ed Runke to introduce Ben Friedman as the presenter. Good luck, gentlemen.
Absolutely. Thank you, Peggy. And yeah, Ben, I don't see Ben's picture back up here, but I'm sure he's out there somewhere. But no, we got a very excited class put together for today. And Ben's going to be going through all the details and the nitty gritty. He may involve myself and Daniel and some of the other sponsors to, chime in on the piece that we deal with directly with that. But there's going to be a lot of good information here today. And how it ties into that insurance market, I think is really important. I think that's just a big space that we're looking into right now, right? As far as, hey, can we have savings on our insurance, or do we have the right, materials for our properties? So definitely ask as many questions as you guys have. I know Ben is going to be happy to answer those for you. And Ben, I'll let you take it from here. You can put your presentation up and we'll get started. So.
All right. Awesome. You mentioned you couldn't see me. Is that still the case?
Oh, no, I see it now. So
okay.
I think it was because other people were talking. So
got it. Well, with that said, first and foremost, Peggy, thank you as always. Without you and your team over at Vinteum, these webinars couldn't happen and go on. And I truly appreciate the efforts that you and your team at Vinteum put into this. Ed, thank you for being the moderator today and supporting myself, and to the other sponsors as well who came out to introduce themselves and and hopefully can chime in on some of the things that I have to say. I'm going to share my screen and put up my presentation. And Ed, I'll ask you if that looks good.
Yeah, no, looks great on my end. So,
All right.
and if anybody has any issues seeing it, just let us know. But it's looking clear on my end from what I can see.
All right. So this is going to be 1 hour CEU credit, IFM credit. The course will take 35 or 40 minutes. I'm sure none of you have a problem with that. But if you want some more education and some other information specific to impact windows and doors, feel free to reach out to me either in this chat here or privately. And my information's in the chat, and Peggy will share it all with each and every one of you. So again, this class is a 1 hour IFM course, Insurance and Financial Management, Implications and how they relate to impact windows and doors. I will bounce some information off of Daniel Baum specifically where it relates to insurance, and Ed, who is a GC and does a ton of educating property managers and board members as well from a consulting standpoint, how it relates to impact windows and doors as well. So let's dive into it here. My name again is Ben Friedman. I am the president and owner of CitiQuiet Windows and Doors. I've been here in South Florida since 2006. I brought a window company from New York State down to South Florida and grew it for them. And in 2012, I had the opportunity to buy the business from them. We are licensed, insured, and bonded as a specialty contractor, impact window and door installations. I am the license holder, so we do not use a qualifier or someone else's license to pull permits and to qualify my business. Again, we are insured and bonded, so certain projects require certain insurance requirements and limits, and some projects also we suggest be bonded. It's a protection for the condominium association or for the board of directors. We're centrally located here in Boca Raton, where our corporate office is. We have a satellite office in North Miami, in Naples, and Fort Myers, which we service the West Coast. We're working on a very large project right now in Longboat Key, outside of the Tampa area. Other than being a window and door business owner, I also look at myself as an Uber driver to two little boys who are baseball fanatics, play a lot of travel baseball. My wife and I are Uber drivers in addition to business, to me being a business owner. And we do a ton of education for high-rise condominium, mid-rise condominium, hospitality, HOAs, and how we can provide education to the marketplace to always be thought of, like Daniel said, as a resource. You don't have to hire us. Of course, we hope that you do, but always think of us as a resource. Use us for a comparable bid. Use us to create a specification, and use us to contribute back to your association. So as far as the course goes, today we're going to talk about an in-depth understanding of impact windows and doors, and the focus on their significance in insurance and financial management, particularly in storm-prone areas like Florida, right? By installing impact windows and doors in your building, and even some other things, new roofs and waterproofing and things like that. What is the single largest line item on your budget sheet is probably your insurance. So what can we do to help you not only, like Daniel said, reduce your insurance rates, but another key fact, and Daniel can speak on it, whenever he chooses here with you guys, it also opens the door for you to be looked at by other insurance companies where you may not be limited like you are or were last year or the year before to 1 or 2 or 3 options. You may now have lots of other options because your building has been improved and you now may have this Class A rating of a building. We'll cover some technical aspects of impact windows and doors, the insurance implication on installing them, a brief cost benefit analysis, right? If I install impact windows and doors in my building, when are they going to pay for themselves? Because they are an investment that do pay for themselves over time. And of course, there are some financial incentives by the state and by some local jurisdictions for the installation of products like this. So from a learning objective standpoint, we're going to understand the construction and features of impact windows indoors. Impact windows indoors are made out of different types of materials to achieve different hurricane ratings, to achieve different energy efficiency calculations, to achieve different noise reduction or abatement levels. So it's not just, hey, I need an impact window and door. Well, you do, but really, what's your ultimate goal? Your ultimate goal is you're trying to, number one, provide for all year round hurricane protection. But what are the ancillary benefits? And how can a product be constructed to achieve those ancillary benefits, such as heat reduction, such as noise reduction, such as ultraviolet ray reduction? That's the damaging sun rays that discolor furniture and paintings on walls and things of that nature. We'll assess the role of impact window and door installations in risk management and insurance. So not only do we install impact windows and doors because we want all year round hurricane protection and we want to reduce our insurance rate, we also do it because there are risks associated without having impact windows and doors. Non-hurricane impact glass could be a very dangerous thing in a property that's 40, 50, 60 years old. Some of the technology in that glass is not necessarily tempered glass, which when it breaks, it really won't cut you up or make too big of a mess. Some of the glass that we see in buildings that are 40 and 50 years old that we're removing are just plain old annealed glass, or we call it crude glass, which is very, very sharp. In the event of a storm, something breaks, what could happen to the interior and or the people inside of those units or those structures? Well, and analyze the cost benefit aspect of installing impact windows indoors, and of course, the financial incentives and insurance discounts related to impact resistant products.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, Ben, and you nailed it with all the extra things that it adds on there, but that's huge because a lot of the times, right, especially as a community, you're looking at, oh, this is going to be a big project. It's going to cost a lot of money. And I don't know the impact directly on the window and door side as much as Ben does and as much as Daniel probably does. But on the construction side, right, even with like roofing, I know you put a new roof on and your insurance could go down by half the cost of the project sometimes, right? So understanding how much value there is in doing that. It's an investment for your property, right? But over the course of the next 10 years or 20 years, you may actually save more money than what the project even costs you, right? So understanding those financial implications, I think, are huge. And there's many more other incentives to that as well. But even just the insurance piece and the financial piece is huge. So understanding that, I think, is very valid. And I had one question here, Ben, that I wanted to throw over to you as well. And it was related to the impact windows and doors and like codes changing. They said they installed their windows 10 years ago. How often are you seeing changes in that industry and them qualifying for, and I guess, Daniel, maybe you might know something about this as well, or Ben, you may too. What's the insurance looking at that, right? As because right on the roofing side, after 15 years, they want you to get a new roof. What does that look like on the windows and door side? Is there a standard to that, or is there something in place that they're specifically looking for?
Yeah, that's a good question. And Daniel, I'll turn it over to you. I'll just add one little nugget here of info. As far as impact windows and doors, as far as the building code changes every 3 years. That's how long a cycle is. And of course, theoretically, it gets stronger and stronger. But the building code, separate from the insurance world, where we personally have seen the biggest change from an insurance standpoint. And by the way, I suggest windows and doors have a shelf life of probably somewhere around 20 or 25 years. Some may say more, but you'll start seeing some substantial breakdowns if you don't maintain them properly and or you're in a highly corrosive salt air environment, somewhere around that 25-year mark. One of the biggest changes we've seen as it relates to insurance with impact windows and doors is on today's and yesterday's wind mitigation inspection forms. There is a specific category and a box that needs to be checked off on a mitigation inspection form that suggests that all glazed openings, which are any opening that has glass in it, a window or a door, any fenestration product, there's a specific box that says that they're all large missile impact rated. There are two forms of impact windows and doors. There are large missile impact rated windows and doors, and there are small missile impact rated windows and doors. Both more than acceptable by the local municipalities and the building departments. The big difference is from an insurance standpoint, and Daniel, I'll let you elaborate. My understanding is that if that box is not checked, that suggests that all glaze openings are large missile impact rated, you are not going to expose yourself to the type of discounts that you may be expecting on your insurance premiums.
So here's what I would say to answer the questions one at a time. So first, as far as the shelf life of hurricane windows and doors, I have yet to see an insurance carrier specifically look for the date of installation and look at that to be how they value premiums. They simply want to see that you have code compliant hurricane windows and doors. That's acceptable. As Ben said, it's impact rated is the key that they look for. And I would just add to that, and this is the part that trips some people up, it can't be that one or several units in a building have them and others don't. It's an all or nothing. Either every single opening has hurricane protection or they don't. And even if you only have a couple of them that are not, you will not get credit from the insurance companies. Now, again, I'm speaking from a commercial standpoint, not from a residential standpoint. A residential standpoint, an individual home can have their own, and I don't know how the HO6 policies look at it for condo owners, but from a commercial standpoint, it's all or nothing. As far as the rating of large or small missile, I have not seen on the commercial forms that be something that's asked for. Ben, are you speaking to the commercial forms or the residential forms?
I'm speaking to a wind mitigation form and getting the maximum mitigation credits.
Yeah. So I haven't seen that in the commercial space. The commercial wind mitigation form does ask for what type of impact you've installed, but I haven't seen a price differential from one versus another.
Okay. And I'll tell you, just from an experience standpoint, we have, and it was a mistake probably at the time by us where we didn't know all of the information. It was about 2.5 years ago. We installed impact windows and doors in a building, and there's a cost savings by using large missile versus small missile. And for those of you that don't know the difference, a large missile impact rated window is required to be installed by the building department at any window or door opening 30 feet above grade and below. Once you're 31, so think of that as the third or fourth floor. Once you're 31 feet and above, you have the opportunity to use a small missile impact rated window or door system. There's a cost savings by using a small missile impact rated system. And basically it's a board of individuals that gathered around and said, hey, the probability of a large missile flying around and impacting glass is probable at 30 feet and below. And that's where it became required, as opposed to an option 31 feet and above, where it still needs to be impact rated. However, people are caring more about some of the wind pressures and the higher wind speeds higher up in a building. And what happened was we installed small missile impact rated windows for a condominium association, whereby there was a large cost savings, almost 6 figures, and they wanted to take on that savings. They were not able to get the credit from their insurance company that they were expecting to get, because their insurance carrier that their broker had set forth suggested that not all of the windows and doors in the building were large missile impact rated. So it may be specific to a carrier, Daniel, I'm not sure, but this was something where they said, hey, you told us we were going to get this crazy savings, and we said consult your insurance company, and there wasn't enough information for them to have a really educated conversation with them, and they didn't get what they had hoped for in the end from their insurance carrier at the time.
Yeah, my understanding from the carriers as to how they look at this is they're obviously going based on code. So the code is going to direct what they can and cannot do in terms of what they can install. As I said, I'll look more closely while we're having this conversation for more details on the large missile versus small missile pricing differential, so I can give a better answer before we're done.
Cool.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Daniel, Valerie just sent me a form, so I'll send that over to you so you can take a look at it as well. But to Ben's point, different carriers and even different wind mitigation companies will use different forms. They collect a lot of the same data, but they may not collect all of the same data, right? So,
Yeah,
and
so
you got to be careful for that because you don't know which carrier is going to ask for which information, which wind mitigation company is going to look for which information. So, and that's why we do these things, right? We want to get all the information out there as much as possible to you guys so that everybody, can make great informed decisions. So I think it's good on both ends to see the sides of that.
So here's how I'll leave it. The way I'll leave it is that what we suggest to the boards and or the managers now is here's the product we're setting forth and we feel is the best fit for the project, both us and the engineer. Please take these certifications that we're going to install in your building before you pay for them and before we start making them, and show them to your insurance company and get their opinion on it before you make this purchase. So I would say, as a generalization, whether you need large missile, you don't, you have a variation of it, whatever it is, the point I'm gonna leave everyone with is ask for the documentation, present it to someone like Daniel, a professional in our industry, let him analyze that, and let him give his professional opinion on whether or not this system is going to allow you to achieve the types of mitigation credits you may be expecting. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah, if just to add a little bit more color to this, I can tell you that historically, Citizens' commercial wind mitigation report was the most stringent of them. That's since changed because so many, as was pointed out, there are a lot of people that use their own custom forms, not necessarily a standard form of wind mitigation. And from the citizen standpoint, they look for the classification they look for is either Class B or Class A or Class B, which is what they call hurricane impact or basic impact. And that's really more directed by what the code is requiring of them. So I think the conversation we're having is much more relevant as you get out of the Tri-County area where you don't have Miami, Dade, Broward type of requirements, because that code requirement is significantly higher, and you can have a basic impact glass in many other counties that would look at the insurance would look at them differently. So I'll get more information to circulate, but just wanted to point that out.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. That's very good. All right. So brief introduction to impact windows indoors. Impact windows indoors, specially designed to withstand the intense forces of hurricanes and other severe weather conditions. They're constructed with multiple layers of glass and a durable interlayer. The interlayer is what keeps the glass together when it is impacted. It's typically made of either a Pine Valley butyral, which we refer to in our industry as a PVB interlayer, or Century Glass Plus, which is what we refer to as an SGP interlayer. And again, this helps absorb and disperse impact energy. Please think of impact glass as the front windshield of an automobile. When you are driving on I-95, I-75, pick a road, doesn't matter, and a rock kicks up off of the pavement from in front of you and your windshield cracks, it will spider web. A crack will run, but the glass will always stay together, and no rain, wind, anything can get inside of your car. That is what impact glass is, and there are different thicknesses of it, of course, to achieve higher or lower design ratings, like Daniel said. PVB, industry term, again, polyvinyl butyl, versus SGP. SGP is a stronger interlayer. You're going to see this a lot more in areas that are more prone to hurricane damage, windborne debris. It allows a window or door system to achieve a higher rating. People think, oh, it's hurricane rated. Well, guess what? If you live in the state of Florida, you have to be in hurricane code compliance, and that's through the Florida Building Code. That's through the FBC. That has nothing to do with, as Daniel said, where you are specifically located. So someone who, and I'll use this Tri-County area because that's where I'm sitting right now, someone who lives here in Boca Raton on the beach in a 30-story high-rise is going to have a hurricane impact resistant window, and so is someone who lives 10 miles inland off of State Road 7. Okay. However, the person on the beach is going to have different characteristics in their framing structure or in their glass package to allow them to achieve a higher site-specific design rating. All right. So they're impact rated. They have an FBC approval, Florida Building Code, or they have a Miami-Dade NOA, a Notice of Acceptance. That's a generalization. Within those product approvals, there are different components: glass thickness, screw pattern spacing, thickness of anchors that go into the substrate, reinforcements in the frame that allow these systems to be used in different types of applications. Okay. So this type of construction, meaning impact glass, 2 pieces of glass or even 3 pieces of glass held together, bonded by an interlayer, prevents the glass from shattering, as I said, into dangerous shards. It maintains the structural integrity of the window or door, even if that outer layer is damaged. Now, this design aims to protect homes from windborne debris, reduce the risk of injury, and maintain pressure balance inside buildings during storms. If any of you all can go back in time and remember when we all had radios or cassette players in our automobiles, and there were the bad guys or the bad girls, and they wanted to break in and steal stuff from our cars. The number one place they would always try to enter the car is through the side windows, never through the front, because you can't get through the front. That is what impact glass is. So understand that that glass can break, but the goal of it is to maintain the structural integrity and to maintain the fact that pressure isn't building up inside of your home or your building, whereby pressure needs to escape. And what it's going to do is it's going to get trapped, and then it's going to lift the roof off of the structure. So a quick example is a high-rise condominium, 2 towers here in Hollywood Beach, about 20 stories each tower, with a parking garage and a pool deck in the middle. 50-year-old building. Not everybody's required to have hurricane impact glass. However, they are required to have hurricane protection. So they were given a choice by the management company and by the board of directors to either install hurricane shutters or to install hurricane impact glass. This is about 8 years ago. Some people on a fixed income didn't have the funds to install impact glass, so they chose the shutter route. They had to choose one or the other within, say, 6 months. Those shutters got installed onto that building. That building had windows in it that were 40 or 50 years old. Hurricane Irma, I want to say, Hurricane Irma comes through. So much wind, so much pressure, because a hurricane is a pressure system, builds up. The pressure builds up in between the shutter that's covering the window and the primary window that's in place. But when you have a shutter closed, for all of you that have them still or had them at one point, you could see little pinholes of daylight coming through. That daylight allows water to come in, and that daylight allows pressure and air to come in. What happens there is that the pressure built up so much in between the shutter and the original glass that when the pressure needed to escape, it made all of the windows that had shutters on them and the original glass all explode inside of the building. So what happened was people came home to a mess. People came home to water and mold inside of their units when they were allowed back in an evacuation zone. And people came home to shutters being closed that they thought were going to protect them, and in reality didn't do a whole lot. In fact, they then were forced at the time, because this was a requirement by the building, they then were forced to replace all of those windows with impact glass. So again, this is an extreme condition, but what are we doing this for at the end of the day? We're doing this to protect us all year round for the most extreme condition, and oh, by the way, to save money on our single largest line item on our budget, which is probably insurance. Ed, does anyone have any questions on any of that yet?
I was still muted. Yeah, well, on that glass topic, somebody had asked if you could talk a little bit about like turtle glass, because they said there's a few people that are near the beach. So kind of what the difference is between regular and turtle glass and the value of it. Okay,
so that's a very good question. And the answer is as follows. There is no such thing as turtle glass. There is no such thing as a aesthetic. Hey, I want turtle glass. Some of you may believe that that means you're getting green glass. That's not what that means. What turtle glass relates to is a city ordinance known as Turtle Code Compliance. And what Turtle Code Compliance speaks about is that there needs to be a certain amount of VT, which is visual light transmittance. In essence, light that can travel through glass, so that when it's dark outside and the moon is out and the lights are on inside of your home and you face the beach, only a certain amount of that light can transfer through the glass out onto the beach, because of the turtles using the reflection of the moon off of the ocean water to go lay their eggs and go back into the water. If they were to see a certain amount of light in your unit, or street lights, light poles, it will never allow them to go and reproduce, lay their eggs, go back into the water. It'll have them continue on into the street. Unfortunately, they get run over and it's a disaster. So turtle glass should really be referred to as Turtle Code Compliance. And how do I achieve, if I live in a Turtle Code compliant building or area, how do I achieve Turtle Code Compliance? And what that now means is there are different glass packages that will allow you to achieve Turtle Code Compliance. Whether it be a dark glass, meaning a tinted glass that could look like you're wearing a very dark pair of sunglasses, a very dark grayish color, or a dark bronzish color, or it means having a coating applied onto your glass, such as a low E coating. Now, low E coatings in general do give off a greenish reflective property, and that's why someone who is uneducated may walk past the building and point up to it and say, that building has turtle glass. Well, that building does have glass in it that is Turtle Code compliant, but again, there is no turtle glass. So it has to do, like I said, with when I'm standing outside and I'm looking back. I'm standing on the beach and I'm looking at a building, and that building has unit owners that lights on or inside. Only a certain amount of that light, a percentage, can travel through that we can see. So using tints in the glass, which tints are baked into the glass, and using certain thicknesses of glass so that tint is dense enough to reduce the light, and or using certain coatings which are applied onto the glass, sprayed onto the glass at the factory, allows us to achieve Turtle Code compliance. So I hope that helps that question.
No, I think that was perfect. Thank you, Ben.
Anything else, or should I keep rolling?
You're good. Let's move it along.
All right. So I went backwards, but let's go forwards here. I'm Am I going forwards? I'm going the wrong way. Q&A, I moved it all the way along. Look at that.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
All right, so I'll run through the rest of this pretty quick because we got into a lot of it as we went. But as far as impact windows and goes and the importance in storm-prone areas, not only do they provide all year-round hurricane protection, but there are ancillary benefits, as I discussed earlier. Safety and security. These windows and doors significantly reduce the risk of injury from flying debris and help prevent break-ins due to their reinforced construction. Again, they're a deterrent for forced entry. You cannot break into the front windshield of a car and expect to get any property inside that car out of it. You would always have gone in through the side windows. So that's what impact glass is. We can't get through it. And once it's broken and you're driving that car on I-95, you could have rain, hail, snow, whatever it may be. Those windshield wipers will work, move all that water off that glass, and it'll never come inside your car. Same thing in a storm. Once that glass is impacted, weather the storm, you can stay inside your home, no problem. You won't get wet. And then you can have the glass changed after the storm is over. You do not need to have the windows, as in the frames and a building permit and all of that fun stuff, replaced and go through the whole process of construction all over again. They provide for property protection by maintaining the structural integrity of the building during the storm. Impact windows and doors help prevent catastrophic failures like roof blow-offs and wall collapses caused by sudden pressure change inside the house. As I mentioned, hurricane is a pressure system. What we're trying to do is protect the structural integrity and the components of the interior of the building and not allow pressure, air, wind, and water inside. They're energy efficient and they reduce noise. Different glass packages within an impact window or door system allow you to achieve higher ratings when it comes to becoming more energy efficient and or reducing as much noise as possible. A basic impact window is 2 pieces of glass with an interlayer in the middle. Think of it as a hamburger. You have the bun, which are the 2 pieces of the glass. You have the meat, that's the interlayer. That is impact glass. That is called monolithic laminated or monolithic impact glass. That gets you all year round hurricane protection, some degree of noise reduction, 0 forced entry, your insurance saving potential, and you have 99% UV reduction. So that's the discoloration of furniture and artwork and things like that. Your upgraded glass package would be something called insulated impact glass. That now, instead of being 2 pieces of glass and a film in the middle, you now have 2 pieces of glass with the film in the middle. You have a gap of a ½ inch or so of airspace filled with argon gas. And then you have a 3rd piece of glass, which is called the sacrificial piece of glass. In 99% of the windows and doors that are manufactured with insulated glass, your non-impact piece is on the street. It is on the outside of the home. Why? Why would impact glass, why would they set you up for failure? The reason is because that non-impact piece, it causes a mess when it does break. So the idea behind it and the building department's ideas behind it is that that non-impact piece is outside. So when and if it breaks, all of that dirt and debris stays outside of the home instead of being inside and can hurt somebody. And your impact protection is still in place, which is that hamburger bun with the meat on the inside. So insulated glass will get you a higher level of noise reduction because you now have a gap of airspace and 3 pieces of glass. And it will get you a higher level of being energy efficient. So this is the type of glass that you're going to see, insulated glass, on a national level. Everywhere in the country uses insulated glass because you have drastic change in climate. It's hot, it's cold. This glass acts as an insulator. Majority of the glass that's installed as impact glass here in South Florida is monolithic laminated glass, which is 2 pieces of glass and a film. And that's solely because it's probably a bit stronger than the insulated glass. It's been around a lot longer than insulated impact glass. And that's what the majority of manufacturers are making. property protection we spoke about, regulatory compliance. Many coastal areas, including several counties in Florida, if not all, have stringent building codes that require the installation of impact-resistant windows and doors in new construction and significant renovations. You're building a new structure, okay, you live in a condominium, you're a property manager, what have you, you're building something, you bought some land, whatever it may be. When you go to pull a permit to build something new, you have two choices. One is it has to have impact windows and doors, or it has to have an approved non-impact window and door system that also has an approved shutter or window covering to protect flying debris. In some buildings, and sometimes I bring this back to a concrete restoration company, maybe someone like Ed can speak to this. Once you are making a significant renovation or you are improving the value of the building by a certain percentage, in some cases, it may be required to bring the building up to a fully compliant Class A building, as Daniel had spoke about earlier. So some things to look out for when you are doing restoration projects or putting on a new roof. Hey, maybe I need to also look into impact windows and doors. And by understanding and incorporating impact windows and doors, homeowners in storm-prone areas can help enhance the safety, security, and overall resilience of their properties against severe weather events.
Yeah, and I would say just to touch on that piece, Ben, we always default to the individual counties requirements as well, because like you touched on earlier, there's the building code, and then there's the individual county and municipality requirements that they have, and some are more strict than others. And if you're closer to the coast, you have different restrictions than if you're further in from the coast. So anytime we're looking at a project, with whether it's a condo or a homeowner or a commercial building, we're always getting with the local authorization first to see what specifically their requirements are, and making sure that you're up to code, not just with Florida building code, but also with your local requirements as well. Because the insurance companies will dig into that and make sure that you're compliant, across the board. And I know that the local, communities as well, if you go and you put something in that's not compliant with that specific municipality, you're not going to pass the inspection when you go to do it anyway, right? So you want to make sure that whoever you're utilizing is doing their homework and due diligence before a project is ever started.
So as Daniel mentioned earlier too, it's an all or nothing thing, and unfortunately sometimes we have to play the used car salesman approach, and I use the analogy of forcing these associations to do an all or nothing thing. And why I bring this up is even things like your stairwell doors, anything that is exposed to the exterior, such as what we would call a fenestration product. So anything that is an opening that is exposed to the exterior must be compliant. Stairwell doors, generator room, pool equipment doors, your trash room doors, your FP&L vault doors, any of those metal steel doors, all of that stuff needs to be hurricane impact resistant. And if it doesn't have a very distinct label on it that Daniel's mitigation inspector is going to come out and see, it doesn't matter what any person or individual tell them. Yeah, that's hurricane impact. I promise it's a steel door. If it does not have an NFRC rating label on it, a UL rating for fire code compliance, an NOA sticker, if it does not have that information on it somewhere, they don't care what you say, and they're going to require that you replace it if you want your discount.
And I'll just jump in, guys, and say that where I see challenges for communities is when you have, a certain percentage of individual owners, because the owners are typically responsible for their own windows and doors. And so you'll have a community where, X percentage have done it and want to take advantage of the credit you can get, and X percentage has not. And the board always struggles with, well, how do we force the unit owners who are not putting in hurricane compliant windows and doors, hurricane impact in windows and doors, how do we make them do it? I wish I had a good answer. I honestly don't. That honestly has to go to the attorney side or the legal side. It obviously depends on the rules of your association and the powers of your association that may be in your governing docs, and could be unique to your individual community. Getting back to that question from earlier in our in our meeting when we were talking about the different levels of opening protection, A and B, and which Ben referred to as missile impact, large missile versus small missile. There's no question that insurance companies are going to modify the amount of savings they're going to give you for if you have the stronger level or the weaker level. The same thing applies to your roof to wall connection, right? We talk about there's two ways to reduce your cost of insurance, and as far as I know, only two ways, and that's strengthening your roof to wall connection or strengthening your opening protection. There's a misnomer that you save money on insurance because you put on a new roof. Well, you might have a savings because your roof is newer, but more times than not, you're actually just not getting dropped by your carrier for putting on a new roof. The new roof doesn't necessarily mean you're going to save money, although obviously having a new roof does, comes into consideration. But where we are in Miami-Dade, Broward, and even Palm Beach County, although Palm Beach is the most lenient of the three, the only thing I ever see anyone putting in, and I recommend that they put in, is Class A opening protection, because we are considered to be, in a, I won't say we're a more dangerous location because that's relative. I will say over historically speaking, the code has been much more stringent because of impacts from storms that we've incurred. So I would say to anyone out there, if you're looking at hurricane windows and doors for the purpose of protection and the purpose of bringing down the cost of your insurance, I wouldn't even suggest you look at B opening. I would only suggest you look at A opening, because that is the level of protection you want to bring in, and that is the level of protection that's going to save you the most amount of money. So just to add a little bit more color to our conversation from earlier.
No, absolutely. I think that's a great point, Daniel. And yeah, it's tough. Like one of the questions in here was, how can a community ensure visual uniformity? And, if the individuals are responsible for the windows and doors, then that makes it more difficult, so it depends on your bylaws and governing docs and what those look like. But you should start to consider if they don't exist already, that you do need to have some kind of uniformity, which I know that they do with certain products. So I would assume that you probably can add that for your windows as well. But also having a standard of what needs to be put in, right? It should be code compliant, and maybe you can only offer certain products. So,
yeah, I mean, it definitely has to be code compliant, because the last thing you want to do, I mean, you even in municipalities where the code doesn't require hurricane windows and doors to be put in, I can't stress enough how much I believe you should be. And honestly, saving the money on the insurance is one thing, but just saving your life, your family, your belongings, that's to me much more important than anything else. And as we've all seen just in the last few years, these storms, they're pretty strong, and they can be strong all the way across the peninsula, and they come from all different directions and can impact you in all different ways. So I would highly recommend, even if your municipality doesn't require it in code, that you seriously consider it when you're looking at upgrading. And yes, the cost is definitely more expensive. No one's going to say it isn't. But if you look at it not only from a cost perspective, but also how it could impact yourself, your family, your belongings, there's obviously a good reason for it. The other thing I'll just say, back to the conversation, Ed, of the municipality, or I mean of the community, what I have seen is where communities do not have windows or doors installed and want to improve, where they will make a determination for the entire community that we are replacing everyone's windows and doors with hurricane impact, and we are going to do a special assessment for everyone to pay for it. And so I have seen boards take action like that, presumably that with the authority either in their governing documents or with direction from their attorneys that have given them the authority to do this. But that is definitely something I've seen, and I'm seeing more of, not only for the protection, but because I've seen insurance policies be reduced by as much as 40%. 40%. If you think about the line item on your budget, if you're paying a few $100,000 in insurance for a community and you can bring it down by as much as 40 or more % for having opening protection, that's a pretty serious argument from a longevity standpoint and year-over-year expenditure to making that investment. But again, I caution you that you should look into this, make sure your governing docs allow you the authority to do that, or check with your attorneys as to how you could take that action if you don't feel you have the ability to do it today.
Yeah, and I to add too, and that's very valuable information. And to add, what we've seen actually are there's always a big hands up question mark as to during a concrete restoration project of I need to remove your windows and doors, or I need to remove your windows or your doors in order to do proper concrete repairs, proper waterproofing, proper stucco. Well, who owns those? I'm the association, I'm doing the restoration project, you own your windows, but I need to do something to your windows whereby I need to remove them to do a proper concrete repair. And now I've taken out those windows, but those windows don't meet the current building code, so they can't go back in. Now there's a cost to purchase new windows, so now everyone does this and says, whose responsibility is that? So that's always a big question mark today, especially with the milestone and the structural reserve study stuff, as well as we're working with an association right now where there is a certain percentage of the building that unit owners who are responsible for the maintenance, replacement, and repair of their windows, the building now wants to go fully Class A rated. And what they have now done is worked with their legal counsel, their association attorney, to take these windows and doors that are owned by the unit owners and make them limited common property, whereby the association is now responsible. So that took time, it took voting, it took changing bylaws to whereby now they have the authority and the power to make this change without having to, for lack of a better term, strong arm a unit owner to make the change.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting predicament to be in, where you're doing, this doesn't fall in my purview, so I haven't come across it, but I could easily see how that could be problematic in doing a concrete restoration project and needing to get to those openings to strengthen the actual opening itself. I'm sure there's a question that comes into play as to, and I'm not trying to open a can of worms here, but I'm sure there's a question that comes into play of whether or not you're even allowed to put them back in, right? If they don't,
exactly.
if those windows and doors don't comply with code, specifically windows, but maybe sliding doors, for example, are you even allowed to put those back in a concrete restoration project? The municipality, I would argue, would say, no, you're not. And it brings up another point I just want to make for those of you who may not be paying attention to it, because we're talking about code compliance. One of the things you should be checking in your hurricane coverage and your wind coverage, and I say it that way because sometimes your windstorm coverage is separate from your property policy. Sometimes they're combined, where your carrier covers your property as well as windstorm. So we call it all other perils. Think about things like fire or a pipe break as property damage versus wind being a hurricane, right? So some of you will have policies that it covers all of that in one policy, and some of you will have a property policy, what we call X-wind, without wind coverage, and a separate wind policy to go with it. And one of the things that you'll want to look for is what's called L&O, which I don't know why they say L&O, because we all say ordinance and law, but it's like law and ordinance. But essentially, L&O is a component of your insurance that if you do have blowouts during a wind event, right? So a hurricane comes through and blows out windows and doors, that your insurance will cover the replacement that brings you up to code. Because if you don't have that, they're only going to pay for the replacement of what you had there, which is non-hurricane compliant windows. If code now says you are required to have hurricane windows, then you have to pay for that upgrade. If you don't have L&O coverage, you're not going to get that money from the insurance carrier. So right. One other point to keep in mind when you look at insurance and how it impacts windows and doors in the event of a claim.
Correct. Very, very true. And with that, you took the words out of my mouth. That is something huge. We went to a fire yesterday with a restoration company, a fire in a mid-rise complex, and the windows and doors are paper thin, but they don't have L&O. So we had to give them a price for non-impact glass, which isn't going to be able to even get installed. So they could give it to their public adjuster or whoever they're giving it to get a value for it, and then figure out what the delta is for them to install what they have no other choice but installing. So
Right.
that's huge. Yeah.
Right. And do we have Daniel Pena on? Because I'd love to hear a little bit more if he run into situations where he's done concrete restorations and had issue with putting the windows and doors back because of compliance. I'm just curious if that's actually come up.
I don't think he's on, but I will tell you, like, we're doing a bunch of concrete restoration work with a restoration contractor right now, and their concrete slabs, their balcony slabs, have extensive concrete repairs. And to the extent where the spalling and the damage, the rebar and the post-tension cables go underneath the sliding glass door track into the unit.
Wow.
So they now need to chip out tile or whatever floor coverings that they have in wood floors inside the apartment to come and do the repair properly. And they're not allowing the sliding glass doors to go back in. In the beginning, during the pre-bid process, we had to give pricing on if it's a non-impact rated system and it doesn't meet the current building code, what the cost it would be if the concrete repair required the removal and reinstallation or installation of a system already in place.
No, and that's a great point, Brent, too, because it's concrete restoration. You don't know what's under there until you actually tear up the first one, right? So when you are bidding big projects like that, you want to make sure that you are including all the possibilities that could be a part of that, right? So, and to answer your question, Daniel, before about can you put those windows back in or not? In the event that it's an insurance claim, you can't. So my assumption is, and I'm going to look more into that, is that if you take something out that's not code because you had to do that restoration, you had to take that window out, I don't think you can put it back in. I'm going to look more into that, but I would imagine that it would follow the same code compliance.
Yeah, I would too. That would be my instinct as well, because that's the whole idea, is that once you pull it out.
I could tell you I wouldn't install it as a contractor because
the other little
it's going to come back on me 100%.
Yeah.
So I agree. I definitely agree with you. And we do got a few questions in here. I'm going to bring a couple of them up to you. One was insurance related and one was not. And then I know we got to keep it moving because we're running up on time pretty quickly here. So the one insurance question we had was what can be done when a master association refuses to allow any other agent to see the independent association's insurance policies, which blocks the ability to get other agencies to quote? Have you come across?
What can be done when the master association blocks your ability to see the master policies?
Yeah.
So again, I'll always preface this with, I am not an attorney, so I cannot give you legal advice, obviously. But my understanding is that's no longer an issue because thanks to the changes in condominium law, and I'm assuming we're talking about a condominium, by the way. I don't know if we're talking about a condo or an HOA, although I believe the law.
It sounds like it's condo from how it's worded.
Okay, I believe it's the same for both condos and HOAs now, but again, this is where the law comes into play, and I'm not as well versed. But those documents should now be publicly available for all owners. That's part of what you have to disclose and make available to owners is those documents. So if you're in a community and they're keeping documents from you and not allowing you to see them, I would discuss, or I would get in touch with the community's owner attorney and ask them if that's something that is required for them to share, because I'm pretty sure it is.
Absolutely. And a couple of these questions are a little bit more, I feel like, association and attorney reference, but yeah, to Daniel's point, always, I always refer to anything that's legally binding to the attorney. And if the board's not giving you an answer, I would bring it up with your property manager or with the attorney as well. So.
Yeah, or go to, make sure you go to the board meeting where the community's attorney will be present. There's at least one or two of them a year where the attorney is always there. The one that comes to mind most is the vote.
Absolutely. Peggy, did you have a question?
I have a comment because it is the law now that if you have 25 units or more in a condominium, you must have a website that is accessible to all of the residents, and you're supposed to be storing these documents publicly on the website. So your attorney's going to be a great source to back that up, but you know, if you have 25 units or more, you most surely can get and should have access to those records.
Yeah,
And
the
they
only-
might just be electronically now, but electronically is better than none at all.
Yeah, the only thing that I don't know the answer to, Peggy, is when the person referred to the master association. So I don't know if that means, what does the law specify that you have a right to see your sub association's documents only? Do you have a right to see the master association's documents? That's where, I would defer to Jane, and I would go to her and ask her that question.
Well, all subs are part of the master, and you're paying a master association maintenance fee in your sub association. So everything is supposed to be transparent. But yes, feel more comfortable contacting your attorney. But even if you don't have 25 units, if you have less than 25 units, you still have to be transparent. And a website is not that expensive, and they're not hard to operate. And you can actually get your management company to run it for you if they want to, or you might have to pay them a little bit a month, but it'd be certainly worth it to have everything on file so you don't have to dig up for old records anyway. And you can, in a very timely, easy manner, provide these documents to every residence because you're a master, you're paying a master fee. You definitely have access to those records.
Yeah. I'm
And then
gonna
one
keep.
other question for you, Ben, if you got a second.
Yeah, I do. I was gonna just skip through. You want to just hold 1 second? I'll skip through
Yeah,
this.
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So, just for those of you that are here, this slide we really spoke about already, which are technical aspects of windows and doors. They're made from different materials. No, most common is aluminum, metal, painted, warranty. The next most common is vinyl, which is a PVC or a plastic construction. You see that a lot more in the northern parts of the state of Florida, around the country, as well as on the west coast of Florida. But here in Southeast Florida and Southwest Florida, you're going to see a lot of aluminum. There's fiberglass, there's wood, of course, but I'll run through that. Of course, the implication, insurance premiums, we're doing this for all year round hurricane protection. We're doing it to reduce our property insurance. We're doing this to open the door to more insurance carriers willing to insure us and giving us more bang for our buck. I do talk about how these are an investment that do have an ROI. That ROI, I feel, in this industry is somewhere around 8 to 10 years between your insurance savings, your FPL potentially savings on these products being energy efficient. Obviously, they have a long-term financial benefit. You have these buildings here in Southeast Florida and Southwest Florida and in Orlando and Tampa. They're going up like crazy. They're new, modern buildings. They may be expensive, but they are sexy, and people want to move into them because they're brand new. Wouldn't it be nice if your building that's 50 years old looked just like a brand new one? And oh, by the way, because it has impact windows and doors in it, will give it and railings will give it a significant facelift curb appeal. There are government incentives for installing these impact windows and doors. You have your MySafe Florida Condo Pilot Program. That is very difficult to get money from the state of Florida if you're a condominium association for impact glass. Up until this past cycle, you needed 100% membership vote in order to apply for up to $170,000 worth of government match money. They've reduced that now to a 75% or a 70% membership vote to either apply for this grant or not. So no, it's very difficult. They are working through some of these things to get us more availability to get funds and help from the state to bring our buildings more up to snuff. And there are some more detailed things, but I'd rather just open it up to questions and answer. I know we're over time. is a very hot topic, and I'm happy to stay on here as long as you want to answer questions and or off the record.
Yeah, and I was going to mention that I know a lot of people had, very specific questions, and they're all great questions because I think a lot of people want to bring some ideas and topics back to, their boards and to their communities and to their property managers as well. So, with that being said, I know Ben and Daniel, they're both available at any time, same as all the other vendors. And I'm sure they're happy to answer questions, or, if you're local enough, I'm sure they would send a rep to one of your board meetings as well to answer, a little bit more in depth about, the thoughts and beliefs of where the state of where we're at now with things and where we're going. So, to get more of that information, obviously you see Ben's got his information on there. But, feel free, we can answer a few more questions on here. But you have everybody's contact info, so you can reach out to us. You can definitely reach out to Ben. He's local down there, and I'm sure he would either, come by and, have a deeper discussion with you guys, or do a Teams call or something like that.
Yeah, and just before anyone signs off, just to add, please allow for about a week or so for the credits to be posted onto your CAM licenses through the DBPR. But I'll answer any questions you have, Ed.
Just to interject, we have until 1:30. Go ahead.
Perfect. All right. Well, I'll just run through. We got about 10 that we hadn't addressed, so I'll just run through them. One is about the certificates, which I know multiple people would probably ask about that, but they were asking if you'll supply them with a certificate of completion as well, or if it'll just be just getting the CEU credit, issued.
Just email me
Yep.
directly. My information's right there if you want.
So anybody that needs that one, just email Ben and he will get you over the certificate of completion as well.
Yeah, if we can just reiterate this point, because I think a lot of people don't realize where these certificates come from, and I get asked even weeks later about getting certificates. Ladies and gentlemen, even though it might have been myself who invited you to the webinar, or any of our other sponsors that may have invited you to the webinar, it is the presenter of the webinar that has to put in that information into the state, and they don't always issue certificates. So something to be aware of is that certificates aren't always 100% going to be coming to you. Ben, I'll leave it to you to tell everyone if that's happening or not for this specific webinar. But if you do not see that you are getting credit at the state level, first and foremost, please wait at least 1 or 2 weeks, knowing that these things sometimes take time from an administrative standpoint. If after 2 weeks you do not see that you were given credit at the state level, please reach out to the presenter. In this case, Ben, not to give you more work, but in this case, that would be Ben. He would be the presenter of the information. He's the only one authorized, or someone he designates is the only one authorized to give you credit for this class. So again, give it a little bit of time, maybe at least 2 weeks before you reach out, and then look to the presenter of the specific webinar. Because remember, each of the webinars we have, and we have a lot of them, have specific presenters, and that's who you need to be contacting in order to find your credit. Sorry to run over you there, Ed.
No, you're totally fine. And I agree. I'm sure Peggy doesn't want to be receiving 1,000 emails about referencing the credits. I say the same thing when I present. Yeah. Email me or reach out to me, but not today. It's Ben. So
I just want to interject that this is not a certification class for board members. It doesn't qualify. The only certification class which you have to take in addition to getting your board certification training is a legal update. So I do have a legal update scheduled, but this class is certified for CAMs, the managers. That's it.
Ed, do you have any specific window and door questions? Because I know this webinar will cut out in 3 to 5 minutes.
Yes, I have one on here that one of the people from the coast area said that they had heard that the turtle compliant windows don't last as long as like traditional windows. What's your take on that? And
I've never heard of that. It could be something specific whereby their glass package that they were sold may have broken down, may have not been the best fit for their application, but I've never heard of turtle glass being inferior than non-turtle glass ever. It's a function of what the color of the glass is. It has nothing to do with the performance of it.
Understood. Thank you. Let's see here. Are fiberglass doors suitable for high-rise condos?
Depends where they're going. If they're going on a catwalk as an entry door to a unit, or some units have two doors, one being into the kitchen and one being into the main foyer, yes, fiberglass doors are used all the time on catwalk situations. I would never be using them in a high rise for a sliding glass door or anything like that. But yeah, if you have a typical 6-panel fiberglass, door that's painted and it's the entry door to a unit on a catwalk, yes, they're used all the time.
Okay, next one. Can you comment on the difference in the weight increase of impact glass windows versus not?
Great question. Consult your engineer. Make sure that your concrete slabs can take the weight of those new sliding glass doors. We're doing one in Delray. They had to do a load analysis to make sure that the enclosures of these balconies that were lanais at one point are now becoming glass structures to increase the habitable living space of the units. They had to have an engineer sign off that the weight of these systems, which is substantially more than a non-impact system, that those loads can support it going from top to bottom.
No, absolutely, and that's a really good point. Making sure that when you make this change or make this install, that it's proper for your community. So, yeah, I think that's the majority of them. We got one more here. It said she was asking the difference between having like impact windows versus having shutters. Is one better than the other? Would you still use both? What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, impact glass is far superior than the shutter. It has all of these things that associate with it. The number one being all year round hurricane protection. Shutters are something that you're married to. You're required to have a service contract on them. You're required to have a company come out and service them multiple times a year to make sure that they open and close properly and lock properly. All they do is protect against flying debris. They have zero structural integrity associated with them. So, you're on the 16th floor of a condominium association. Not too sure what you're worried about flying around that high up. I'm more worried about that window blowing out or being sucked out of the opening than I am with a coconut or a branch hitting that piece of glass that's 150 feet in the air.
Absolutely.
I think there were two other questions I saw that I thought were pretty interesting. Does it make sense to replace glass but not the frames?
Absolutely not. You are not gaining anything by doing that. Your insurance company will look at the window or door system as a whole. They will not look at the glass only. We've been asked, hey, we have a fiberglass door. We want to make a cutout in it and put impact glass in there. That's great. You want to be able to see out that door and get some natural daylight through, but you're not gaining any hurricane protection by doing that. Remember, this is a twofold or a two-prong here. This is a tested system. So this is the glass being one component of the system and the structural integrity being the most important part.
So Ben, that dovetails right into the second question where somebody asks about what they quote is significant increase in the weight of the windows compared to what they had before. So if you're living in a community where it's frame or it's a J&M construction, how does the weight of the impact windows potentially affect that?
Again, I would always go back to my answer I gave before, which is to have an engineer come out and suggest that the structure can support those systems. There are different methods of installing them. The typical method is that the anchor goes through the frame into the concrete block or into the header, into the sill. There are what's called nail fin installations, which we see a lot more on the West Coast or up or even higher in the central part of the state whereby they are pressed up against the facade and they're surface mounted in. This is where you'll see some aluminum or vinyl siding. Buildings that have, mid-rise or garden style units where the window is pressed up against the building and it's fastened into the facade and flush into the building, and then they'll have different decorative coatings to go around it to conceal those fasteners, whereby your framing won't be able to support it, but let's call it your shear wall or your wall would be able to.
Cool. Thanks for answering that. I was curious myself.
Anybody else?
All right. I think that's all the questions we had, Ben. I don't know if you had any closing remarks.
No, I'm all good. Ed, thank you for monitoring the chat, adding great knowledge. Daniel, always love bouncing insurance stuff off of a true expert like yourself. And Peggy, can't thank you enough for getting everybody here and putting this thing together along with your team at Vinteum.
You're welcome.
Thank
Yes,
you guys.
okay.
Thanks for letting me be a part of that. I appreciate you letting me. I didn't mean that. I want to.
Oh, thank you.
Take your presentation. So thanks for letting me be a part of that.
All right. Well, I just want to close myself saying thank you to Ben, Ed, of course, Daniel again, and all of the attendees. I want to commend all the board members that are on today for taking that responsibility seriously of being on the board. I know it's a volunteer position, but it's very important to be knowledgeable as well as your property manager, because when something happens, your manager may not be around. I do have some upcoming classes I'll mention briefly. I have another engineering class coming on September 9th. Ben's going to return with a different class. He's got a series started here on September 18th. I am targeting the Palm Beach County Emergency Management Team again to come to us on September 23rd, give a presentation. October 14th, we've got Best Roofing, one of our continual sponsors. October 22nd, I've got Altieri Insurance Consultants or Public Adjusters. Excellent presentation, covers a lot of this information related to insurance as well. And the 24th is October 24th is a legal update by attorney Stephen Rappaport. And then closing out October is First Citizens Bank with a new presentation on everything you wanted to know about banking. So thank you so much. Have a great weekend and hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.